Hi, it's Dr. Parikh, and now we're talking about how to do a concept map, which is another thing that most students haven't done before, but most students will say later, this is really where the paper came together. Once they had their concept map, they kind of knew where they were going with their outline, which meant once they had their outline, they really knew where they were going with their draft. And it's also a good place to make sure you are getting as much integration and variety as you need. So here in the assignment, I give a lot of information about how to do it. I talk about doing, so for the concept map video, which is this, I'm using this website, bubble.us. That's what I have here. You can do up to 3 concept maps for free under each account that you create, and you can delete them and start a new one. They call them mind maps, but it's the same thing. The basic idea of a concept map is that you are showing how ideas are related to each other. And here we're doing kind of simple outlines, so it's pretty easy. The nice thing is you can move them around. They will automatically expand. Like if I decide that I have another idea related to this, so you can use, you can do a few different things. You could do a circle instead if that's easier for you. And you can look at how ideas are related, so you could kind of track that as you go. But it's enough if you just put them in. I find it really easy. I like using the keyboard shortcuts that it describes, and so it's really easy to add things. And so this should be a complete sentence. It could be from your article notes. It should have a citation on it. And even if you decide, well, wait, no, this really makes more sense over here, it's pretty easy to just move it over to something else. You can even, if you want, you could have, you can divide it into paragraphs now if you want. You don't have to. And then you can put your other support, you can sort of start organizing your other supporting ideas, under the paragraphs. I like how easy it is to move things around. And then at the end, you can just save. You can't save it as a PDF. You can also print it. And so let me hit print. And from the print screen, you should be able to make it into a PDF. Mine's really easy on a Mac, but it's usually pretty easy on a PC also. And you can always just Google how to print to PDF on whatever kind of computer you have. You don't have to use this software. You can also just draw it by hand. That's what I tend to do when I'm meeting with students, because you can start with, okay, so let's say you have no idea what you're doing, and you can do, what do I want to do? I want to do a new mind map. I can just start writing ideas. So I've got idea 1, and I've got idea 2, and idea 3, and idea 4, and so on. You get the idea. And then I can start thinking about how they cluster together. And so I might say, okay, a lot of these have to do with direct exposure, or let's say indirect exposure. Thinking about the article that I've been working on. And so I can say, okay, this one and this one are all linked to direct exposure. Now I can create another yellow one and say there's also part of it about trauma. And I can say, all right, this idea is really linked to trauma. And I've got a couple ideas, that are sort of underneath that. And then I can say, well, this is sort of related to this too. So even though it's coming from here, it's also sort of connected to this. And so it can help me start playing with ideas. And then I can say, no, like that's there, but I don't want to focus on it. I just want to talk about it here. And so I like the software on my own because it lets me really tool around and move things. But when someone's really stuck, I'll often just start with something by hand, because we can just write down all the ideas and then start to connect them. But that gets pretty messy over time. So it's up to you, as long as you have to submit it as a PDF, but I'm not fussy whether it's on paper or on bubble.us or on something else. Just make sure I can read it, because I'm actually going to look at it and see if it seems like you're on track. This is one of the many places that I'm able to give you feedback along the way. If you're having trouble, I give you a lot of my best tips here, so I'm not going to repeat them on video when you can read them. So good luck with the concept map. This is, to me, the most exciting part of writing, because you're figuring out how you're going to fit these puzzle pieces together. You have these pieces in front of you of a puzzle that nobody's ever put together before. And you and I, even at that moment when I've written down, all right, what are all the key terms from your articles? And we look at the page, the student and I have very different ideas in mind. And that is so exciting to me, because that is you as an individual telling a story that no one else is going to tell, even if you give them the same parts. And that just, there's such a creative power to that for me. Academic writing is very different from creative writing, but it's still a process of creation. And that's what I love. That's why I teach this class. Thanks. Bye. And have fun.